All right, well, I think we're going to get this started here. My name is Robert Curtis. It's great to see so many new faces and some new communities on this webinar. I'm the Director for Networks and Practice at the Link Learning Alliance, and I've been involved with Link Learning for over 10 years in a variety of roles. Link Learning began over 10 years ago with 9 pilot districts throughout California that were committed to systemically transforming education. The success of the pilot drove a large investment from the state, allowing the movement to deepen and expand beyond the initial pilot. We now have over 130,000 students in 80 districts nationwide, including 450 Link Learning pathways. Um, and now Link Learning is taking place in schools and districts throughout the country in a variety of contexts, from large urban districts to smaller rural communities. And we want to make sure that everyone in the movement has the tools and insights they need to implement with quality in their particular community, so students and communities can thrive using this approach. Um, the Alliance leads a movement to help every young person determine their own future, and we support education systems and communities as they engage youth, strengthen workforce readiness, and advance equity and economic justice through Link Learning. As we get started here, I'd like to give everyone a minute to introduce themselves in the chat box. You can put your name and district and role if you would. Also, throughout the webinar, please feel free to use the chat to post questions, to make comments. There'll be several opportunities throughout for you to interact with some of the panelists. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Any that we don't get to, we'll send out an FAQ sheet after the webinar. All right. And here's our essential questions for today that we hope to be able to dig into is: what is Link Learning? Why should districts leverage this approach? What does it look like in practice at the school, district, and community levels? And how do you get started with Link Learning? And here's our agenda for today. The first half of the webinar will be focused on the pathway, and we'll be hearing from some pathway educators, some student alumni. We'll also be talking to some site administrators. And then the second part will actually be focused on the district systems, looking at community engagement and partnerships. And we'll hear from some district leaders as well as some of our community partners. Okay, next slide. So at this point, I'd like to introduce a student alumni Marlon De Silva, who's an assistant editor at NBC Universal Media, LLC. He's a Link Learning alumni from Hollywood High School in Los Angeles Unified School District, or he is an alumni from there. And we'd like to, we invited Marlon to come and share his experience with Link Learning. So Marlon, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. It's my pleasure. Hi, everyone. My name is Marlon De Silva. And ever since I was 8 years old, I've always had a dream of being part of the film industry, and especially one day to attend the Academy Awards, as I've lived literally in the heart of Hollywood all of my life, 24 years. And my first love was editing, as I took all of our family memories and put the puzzle pieces together in Windows Movie Maker. And I showed them to my family and friends, and it made me realize how I had the power and the tools to create stories using the impact and medium of filmmaking. My parents were both born and raised in Sri Lanka. I was married here in the US, and they had me, their only child. And coming from a working class immigrant family, my parents were very supportive of me, but they couldn't provide the resources I needed to succeed in this industry. From elementary to middle school, I was just looking at YouTube videos and trying to learn from there and use what I had. But when I got accepted to Hollywood High School's New Media Academy and being part of their film production pathway, that changed everything. My coursework for the last 4 years, or for the 4 years of being at Hollywood High School, was combined with my passion for film production, writing, directing, and editing, and it was heavily mixed with my academic curriculum. A lot of the time, we would work on semester-long projects that took what we were learning from our history, English, and math classes and apply them to creating PSAs, short documentaries, and even writing and directing a few narrative short films. I was learning what it meant to be a filmmaker and get college-level training while I was in high school. There did come a point during my junior year that getting into the industry as a career was starting to become a concern for my family, but also for myself. But one of the things I learned during my time in New Media Academy that I found very crucial and beneficial, especially when being in the industry, was learning how to network. So I used it to the best at an event during my junior year of high school, as I was invited through one of my teachers at New Media Academy. And I went to a filmmaker and I told him I was scared about getting into the industry. And he took the time to tell me in detail to do internships because it was not only going to help me gain experience, build my resume, but also put my foot in the door. And 3 days later, he won his Academy Award. And a few months later, with the help of one of the lead teachers in my program at New Media Academy, I made my first resume that consisted of 3 years of school projects and volunteer work. And I was an intern on the Fox studio lot before my senior year of high school at age 17. And being part of this linked learning pathway, it taught me not only the importance of continuing to perfect my craft of filmmaking, but also gave me the tools to do so. But in addition, it taught me what to make movies about, and especially taking what I learned from my history and English class and applying them in the real world. My teachers were always there to help me succeed and guided me through high school, and my classmates were like my creative partners working in the industry these past semesters. And it really took us to a real world scenario because especially one of the big things and the key terms in this industry is collaboration. It exactly what I was doing in high school not only played a role to what I was going to do in the future, but also helped me play a role in college. I went to Santa Monica College, and before transferring to a 4-year, I thought of the amazing things I did in high school, like internships, and I applied and was accepted to a summer internship at NBC Universal as a cable entertainment intern. And what I thought was a 3-month internship actually ended up being 2 years while being a full-time student at Cal State LA. And throughout high school, I was in the top of my classes, taking what I already learned in high school and applying it to my coursework, as well as advancing my toolkit when applying it towards my internship. And as of last May, I was offered the position of assistant editor for my team at NBC Universal before graduating college. In addition, I was offered a full-time job in addition to being offered a full-time job before graduating as a first-generation student. I was also one of 35 selected nationwide for the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, also the organization known as the Oscars, for their Gold Rising program production track, where my emphasis was in film editing. I got to be part of this 8-week program to learn and be mentored by Academy Award winners, nominees, and became a student speaker, and also be mentored by the Academy Award winners to also win a scholarship and also make new friends who are highly recognized for this program. The best part of all, especially in addition to being selected for this program, was also being the few selected to attend this year's Academy Awards, which was a dream of a lifetime that came true 6 years after graduating from Hollywood High School. So being part of a linked learning pathway in film production took me to the next level. I did well academically because I was doing something I loved, visual storytelling. And I applied it to my academics, which made me a stronger student compared to even before high school, and resulted me in getting better grades, in addition to getting so much support from my teachers. It gave me opportunities to put on my resume and get myself out into the industry, but also helped me be in the top of my classes. I without doubt would not be where I am if it was not for the skills, the knowledge, and the opportunities I gained being in my linked learning pathway, which is still helping me continually chase my dreams and climb up the ladder to this day. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Marlon, for sharing. Really appreciate hearing your story, especially as a linked learning alumni myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Hernan Gallo. I'm the manager of external relations at the Alliance. And I'm also a linked learning alum. So I graduated from a health pathway program in Oakland, California, and it was an extremely valuable experience for me. I loved it so much that I can deeply resonate with all the points that Marlon was referring to earlier. All right. To kick things off, I wanted to just share that, really linked learning and pathways in several contexts, even over the last few years in the pandemic, have shown that, we can continue to provide high quality and equitable experiences for learning for students. And so as we begin this webinar that we're all participating in today, I really want us to think about why linked learning has worked for us before, why it can help to work to address some challenges and opportunities that educators and communities are facing today. And so we'll be showing a brief video right now. So I'll go ahead and let Maya hit play. Thank you all.
My high school experience has introduced me to fields that I hadn't even considered.
I was able to discover myself, my passions, and what I'm truly interested in after high school.
It's really rewarding to see where they're at now and where they're going to go.
get to be seen and begin to see themselves as environmentalists. They get to see themselves as public health workers, as artists, as engineers, as coders.
I have participated in interviews and internships. I have looked at the world around me and applied things that I learned in school. I feel prepared and excited for all future opportunities.
My parents were very supportive of me, especially doing film and television, but they couldn't provide me the resources I needed to succeed in the industry. And being part of Hollywood High School and then in the New Media Academy, it helped me do just that.
Part of going through a pathway is learning that you can expand, you can bring that into different things, and you can have an impact in ways that you didn't know was possible.
Thank you. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. I know I myself am a visual learner, so I appreciate the fun graphics and everything. All right, so we'd love to engage you all with a quick poll that we're using via Slido. So you can either use your phone, scan the QR code, or even in your own browser, visit slido.com and use our tag LLA to join. So I'll let folks pull this up and let me know if you run into any troubles. If you use the QR code, it'll take you directly to this poll. But if you are visiting via browser, you'll see the LLA tag. And we are hoping that you all can help us build a word cloud. What is one word or short phrase that describes something that stood out to you about the student experience from what we've witnessed so far from both Marlon and also the video? So a word or phrase that stood out to you. Seeing some responses here: engaging, relevant, meaningful, applied, integration. Yes, thank you. Inspired. Our word cloud is evolving as we go. Awesome. Skills, integration, fun, yes. Internships, student-centered. Awesome. Yeah, thank you all so much for participating in this word cloud. I love all the amazing insights and ideas being shared here. So thank you so much. And please leave your poll open. We are going to have another one later in the presentation. And so it'll automatically switch for you on your phone or your browser once we get to that one. But thank you for jumping in on this. All right, so I'll be passing it back off to Robert to take it away.
Great, thanks, Hernan. So we're going to take a minute here to talk briefly about the linked learning approach, but you'll get to hear in more detail later from our practitioners and partners. So next slide, please. So the linked learning is an evidence-based approach to educational systems transformation that disrupts tracking. It's which is a traditional practice that deepens disparities by forcing students to choose between academic and college or training for trades. And what we're trying to really do is how do we have the power of the and, both college and career through linked learning. So as we see, linked learning really intentionally integrates both rigorous academics with college and career readiness with our career technical education. Another component is we look at a continuum of work-based learning. This isn't about just having work-based learning as something that some kids get to do some of the time, but work-based learning that really brings in our partners, our community, and that's integrated with the curriculum instruction that students are getting in school. It also includes comprehensive student supports, including college and career counseling, social emotional learning, as well as accelerated instruction and supports in reading, writing, and math. And each one of these reinforces the others. Each one is important. We look at the impact of linked learning. The pathways that actually have these four elements are the ones that are actually getting results for students. So linked learning is delivered through an integrated CT and academic pathway. Sometimes we call them academies, and they're connected to high-wage, high-growth industry sectors, such as healthcare, energy, agriculture, engineering, and information technology. The secret sauce of linked learning lies in the integration of the core academics with the CT. It's about college and career, not one or the other. So instead, linked learning provides a framework for bringing together your existing college and career readiness efforts and expanding and improving them to ensure equitable outcomes and opportunities for all students within the supportive collaborative structure of pathway or academy. All right, and we're going to post a link in the chat here. So the adoption and expansion of linked learning over the past decade was also supported by a body of research that shows linked learning makes a difference and has a positive impact on young people. And I think Hernan just posted the results in there. So SRI's research found that when compared with similar peers in traditional high school programs, students in high quality linked learning pathways, they earned more credits towards high school graduation, complete more college preparatory courses, and are less likely to drop out of high school and are more likely to graduate within 4 years. And these effects are pronounced for students who start in high school behind academically and for students of color. And the results are tied to high quality implementation of the components. So next we're going to have my colleague Dan Storrs is going to talk a little about the linked learning standards, which really anchor our work. So Dan? Oh, actually, still me here. Sorry about that. Briefly, sorry, Dan, the pathway development process. Dan will come back and talk about the standard in just a moment. So we look at the pathway development process, which is outlined in our Getting Started guides. We'll also post those into the chat. And you can look at these later. There's both a district guide as well as a pathway guide. These really provide a vision and concrete steps to design and implement high-quality pathways using the linked learning approach. And these are all tied to the linked learning certification standards and the certification process, which now my colleague Dan Storrs will go over. So thanks, Dan.
All right, thanks, Robert. A set of standards for high quality linked learning pathways leading to better student outcomes, as shown by the research, was developed in partnership with the field. The standards underpin all the work we do with the purpose of supporting educators in pathway implementation and encouraging continuous growth and improvement. There are two sequential iterations of the standards, silver and gold, providing a pathway design and implementation framework and benchmarks for self-evaluation and continuous improvement. The first, the silver standards, focus on the systems and practices needed to build a high-quality pathway program. And the gold standards focus on high-quality implementation of integrated student-centered learning experiences with equity-focused student supports, inclusion of community partners, and career learning experiences for all students tied to a defined set of student outcomes, such as a graduate profile. The linked learning standards are organized into three strands. The integrated program of study, which encompasses core and CT academics, work-based learning, which addresses career learning experiences and industry partnerships, and integrated student supports, ensuring equitable access and opportunity for all students. Elements of the three strands work in concert to achieve student outcomes focused on equity, college and career readiness, healthy, community-minded young adults, and it is informed by student and pathway data. So I'm just going to briefly go into some of the aspects of each of these three strands. For the integrated program of study, key factors include a rigorous college prep curriculum that prepares students to succeed in college and gives them the required coursework for college eligibility. In California, that means meeting A through G requirements, for example, for California State University and UC. And there's attention to providing access and supports for all students. It includes project-based interdisciplinary curriculum with real-world applications tied to work-based learning opportunities, and the use of performance assessments through methods that include presentations and completion of a culminating project so that the assessments are an authentic learning experience in and of themselves. It also includes early college credit opportunities tied to the pathway theme and accessible to all students. And it includes AP, IB, and most importantly, dual enrollment, allowing kids to see themselves as college students, build confidence and an academic foundation, better preparing them for later success. And there's the inclusion of post-secondary and industry partners that inform the design of the program of study to ensure that the career learning integration is authentic and based on industry standards. Finally, there are student learning cohorts that provide common integrated learning experiences for students and collaboration time for teachers. The second strand is the work-based learning. A work-based learning plan is included that maps out how and when students are getting the continuum of work-based learning experiences from career awareness, exploration, and preparation, and helps students and families understand and track their progress. The plan is informed by input from industry partners and tied to the program of study. And students have access to formal work-based learning through internships and apprenticeships, opportunities for industry feedback, and opportunities to build professional relationships, which is a very important aspect of the work. And the third strand, integrated student supports, include an orientation process that sets clear pathway expectations for students and families and helps them understand the resources and supports available to them so that they can meet those expectations. And it includes students who get to experience learning that emphasizes healthy social, emotional development and life skills. And teachers and counselors work together within a system to monitor student needs and provide culturally responsive and timely supports. And students receive guidance for accessing post-secondary education and skills development for succeeding in the workplace. All right, so now Hernan is gonna post a link to some certification resources that are on our website, because we just want to talk really briefly about a certification system that we have. The standards and the journey of pathway development and improvement are supported by this process, which drives high quality implementation and provides independent evaluation and feedback. And it promotes important community awareness and recognition of the work you're doing and the outcomes you're achieving for your students, families, and community. The two levels of certification are directly correlated to the two levels of the standards that I just talked about, with silver representing the implementation of foundational structures and practices, and gold representing the highest level of quality pathway implementation, where you experience a strong community culture with deeply embedded cross-curricular industry-infused learning experiences and comprehensive academic and social emotional supports. We offer an online platform to support pathway development, team collaboration, and the certification journey. It's a collaborative tool where pathways can chart their journey from the beginning stages, starting with baseline data, then tracking improvement over time, building a library of projects and best practices, a record of community partnerships, year-over-year data, and educator observations and reflections, setting pathways up for gold certification and scaffolding continuous improvement efforts. And again, the link that Hernan put in the chat will give you more information about that platform. So now we're going to do another Slido. We have a question for you. If your community successfully develops a system of high quality pathways, what will students and or adults be experiencing or doing that is different from what currently exists? So based on just what you've heard here and thinking of your own community, what would you like to see happen? So just take a minute to have you think about that and put an answer. And we're just going to try to do this quickly. We see collaboration, community engagement, working across subject areas, collaboration, all really important aspects of the work. And really rich when you see it done. When you see it done well, you see students who get it, who are engaged, who are motivated. Yep. And of course, not forgetting the inclusion of the work-based learning and all of that. Looks pretty even. How come these are all coming up really evenly, Hernan? Is that just the way that people are putting them in? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so only if folks enter the exact wording, we'll get them to become bigger. Yeah. There's more words involved in this poll.
Yeah.
More, bigger ideas.
Nice. Excellent. All right. So you get it. Those are some of the very important aspects and really kind of frame and guide all the work that we do. So right now I want to introduce Karen Coffey, who is a pathway lead for the Link Learning Gold Biomed Academy at Eastside High School in Antelope Valley. And Karen led the gold certification work for the pathway. She's a Link Learning Fellow, and she gives generously to help other educators who are interested in this work. So happy to have her here. Karen?
Thank you so much for having me, everyone. So I want to tell you a little bit about our experience here in the Antelope Valley Union High School District. And I'll start with just some of our community demographics so you have an idea of how we are using link learning in our community. So our district, these are the numbers for our district. We have 21,000 students that cover 1,200 square miles. 73% of our students are on free and reduced lunch. 34% are taking a minimum of 1 CTE class. We have 8 comprehensive high schools, 1 early college campus, 3 alternative sites, and 1 charter as well. And we definitely have a college and career focus here in our district. 15,000 students took our PSAT. So that's just some background information about our district. And then here we'll look a little bit more about our academies. So in our academies, we have about 2,300 students. You can see the demographics between males and females. Many of our students are enrolled in AP courses, so about half of them are enrolled in AP courses. You can see lots of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch. We have 3% special ed and also 10% English learners in our academies. And the way linked learning happened in our district is it all started in California with the AB 790, which was a grant that provided us money to work towards building these types of pathways in our district. So that happened prior to 2015. And then our district decided that it was going to be that any new academy that was being built after that happened was going to have a linked learning, use the linked learning approach to build the academy. We started having silver certification at the very beginning in 2017, and then 2 of our schools earned the gold certification, and we're continuing on growing those. We have 5 that are candidates for silver now within our district, and that's our district's goal. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what's happening on our campus and how this worked on our campus. We have the Biomedical Science Academy here at Eastside High School. We have about 3,000 students on our campus, but in our academy, currently we have about 450 students. So you can see when we started the program, we started with 1 course, the first course, and there was 1 class, 1 teacher. And today we have 450 students in our program. We have 16 different classes, 50 sections, and 13 teachers that are a part of our academy. And we're really proud of the work that we did to get there. So I'll tell you a little bit more details about the timeline of how that worked. So we started as a pathway, and in our district, we use Project Lead the Way curriculum. Project Lead the Way is a national curriculum. They have CTE strands for computer science, engineering, and biomed. So we started with the biomed curriculum in 2013 and 14. The 9th grade class is called Principles of Biomedical Science, and then we built the pathway 1 year after another. So we just had 4 years of the classes. So each year we added on the next class. We ended up in 2016 and 17 having the 4 classes that are part of Project Lead the Way's curriculum. And we have built our pathway to be that we have 5 sections of freshmen, 4 sections of sophomore classes, and then we have 3 junior and 3 senior classes, 3 sections. And we really believe those numbers work because we're putting it out there for everyone to be involved, and that you will lose some students over time, but we've been able to successfully keep those 3 sections and 3 sections for our juniors and seniors as the pathway has grown. So after we had the pathway, we decided to start really trying to integrate our classes, and that's when we became an academy. So in 2017, that school year, we started cohorting our students. So any student that was taking Principles of Biomedical Science would also take English 9 honors with the same teacher. The teachers then would work together and do assignments, integrated projects, and build them from there. We also added a class that year for our juniors to do applied chemistry and biotech. Then the following year, we built on and we added English 10 to our 10th grade level, and also AP World History. So we would call this our program of study, and we're happy to share with you the courses that we decided to cohort our students in. And then the next year, those kids went from 10th grade to 11th grade. And so on the next slide, you'll see from 2019, 2020, the 11th graders had all of the English class. We also added AP US History, and they were taking applied chem and biotech along with their Project Lead the Way course. And then those juniors became seniors, and we added AP Literature to their class list, the program of study, along with AP GoPo, and we strongly encourage an AP Science in our program of study. So then our academy was fully built, and this is something that we've been working on for quite some time. We also have added in 2 electives, a sports med elective and an intro to film elective as well in the last year. And from there, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about integrated projects. So in our freshman class, recently I was teaching about bacteria and viruses, and in their English class, they wrote these stories about, they were called the COVID Chronicles. So they did some writing that was creative writing, but they did use the science they were learning in my class. Sometimes when we do labs in my class, they'll do a lab report and they'll write the formal lab report in their English class. So it sort of helps so that we're not siloed. We're working together to complete things. A lot of Project Lead the Way teachers talk about how they can't get through all of the curriculum, but because we're sharing the load of the work amongst the teachers in our academy, we're able to get through the curriculum, and that's pretty exciting. We have used linked learning for systemic change. So we began doing a senior portfolio defense. So all of our seniors will defend their learning. We have a graduate student profile, and the students get up and they talk about and use evidence from all 4 years. They've created a portfolio, and they show what they've learned and why they are a good citizen or a good creator innovator. It's really exciting and powerful to see. We've used this to make sure that we're beefing up our student supports. So we do grade polls weekly. We email parents, and we do it as a collective unit. So if a student's struggling in any of the classes, they get an email and we invite them to tutoring. We do specific tutoring for biomed students on Tuesdays and Thursdays every week. So we've created a lot of interventions in place to provide supports for our students. And then we also have been able to really build our work-based learning experiences for our students. So we had to sort of think outside of the box to provide internships. So we were able to create the sports med program so that the students can intern right here at school. We use Coffey, which is a museum that offers virtual field trips. And so the students have watched an autopsy being done, and they're involved, like they can ask questions of the doctors as it's happening, and all kinds of different work-based learning experiences through Coffey. We've had field trips, and we do something called Med Talk. So we have people come in and talk about their experiences and their different jobs. And we also provide our students with certifications. One of the ones that we do is all of our students have the ability to become BLS certified, so basic life support. And then all of those things have helped us to get this to this data point. So I know how it feels while I'm here teaching at school. I just feel like big things are happening, but the data really shows. So our biomed linked learning students outperform our school students at our school site and our district. And you can see the percentages here. So we have a 15% over school-wide college acceptance rate with the Biomed Academy. We have a 5% over district for college acceptance rate. Our students have a 3% higher A through G completion rate, which is in California, the requirements to get into a UC or a CSU. And then we have a smaller suspension rate school-wide and district-wide, and our grad rate is 100%, which is 5% over the grad rate at our school and 10% over the district grad rate. So we're really proud of those statistics. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you so much, Karen, for that wonderful presentation, and so exciting to hear all the wonderful work you're doing with the students at Eastside High. We are going to go ahead and get started with a brief panel all about linked learning pathways. And so I'll invite Marlon, Karen, and Ben to essentially join me on the virtual stage for this Zoom call. And you've already met Marlon and Karen, so I would like to kick it off and ask Ben, would you be able to unmute yourself and give a brief introduction?
Oops. Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Ben Gertner. I am the principal of Roosevelt High School. We're in Los Angeles Unified School District, and we are a comprehensive high school and a wall-to-wall linked learning school. We have 3 pathways at our school. One is law and public service, one is medical and health sciences, and the other is STEAM. The STEAM and law and public service are both linked learning silver certified, and the medical and health sciences is gold certified. So it's great to be here with you today.
Awesome, thank you. All right, well, I have just a couple of questions for our panelists today. Since Ben, you just gave a quick introduction, I'll go ahead and get started with you. I'd really love to hear, what makes linked learning different, right? How are they different from traditional CTE or traditional high schools? From your perspective, Ben, what does that look like at your school, given career technical education specifically?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I can remember before we were a linked learning school, the CTE classes were more treated as electives that students could choose if they were interested, or frankly, counselors would program students into if they needed more electives. And so there was kind of a mix of students who were interested in the class. They were standalone. They weren't connected to any other classes. As a linked learning school, it's really changed because all students take CTE. They all take the same sequence of CTE classes that align with their pathway. So it's not really considered an elective anymore. It's actually a core part of our program. And rather than being kind of peripheral, now it's the anchor. So when the other subjects come together with the CTE teacher and to plan those integrative projects, it's now the CTE class that takes the lead rather than being the elective. They focus on the themes and the skills that students are learning in the CTE classes. I would also say that because we're linked learning and we really value that access to CTE, it's pushed us to make some decisions and changes in our school to provide more equity, more access for all students. So we were finding that there were certain subgroups of students that really didn't have access, especially our English learners and our students with disabilities. So a couple things we've done. One is moving more towards full inclusion with our special ed students. That allows them to be in the classes that are participating in the projects, whether it's English, social studies, CTE. They're included in all of the general ed classes with extra support. So they have access to that curriculum. And for the English learners, they have to take, in California at least, an additional class for support for their language development. And that was sometimes blocking them from having access to CTE. So what we've done is switch to a block schedule, which actually works really well for linked learning because of having that longer period of time for projects. And that's also given the students 8 classes they can take over the year instead of 6. So now every student is able to take CTE. So I think putting CTE at the center as part of a linked learning school also pushes us to make decisions that make sure that every student has access to the program.
Great. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you were able to sort of reimagine the structure and yeah, be able to best support all students. Marlon, what about you? Could you speak more? I know you mentioned earlier about your experience in linked learning and the pathway, but from your perspective, what made, work-based learning a unique experience for you? Could you speak more to that?
Yeah, for me, it was a unique experience because I was very, very lucky and was very happy with the fact that my pathway at Hollywood High School's New Media Academy, they were very big on giving us the tools and the guidance to succeed. So one of the things was we got to operate on a camera that is being used, for example, like on the movie A Star is Born. And we would do this during our junior year in high school. And one of the things that we would do is outside of taking our video production course, which I have to hop off of Ben for a sec, which is that it really didn't feel like an elective. It felt like a group. It felt like in other words, it felt like a very big collaborative effort between my history teacher, my English teacher, and my film production teacher as one gigantic project that we would do in the industry. And for at least 6 months, at least, or really the semester, is when we would go through these 3 classes and try to put our project together, follow the requirements, and then from there we would then use our presentation skills and present it in an actual movie theater with panelists and judges. And that's how we get our work graded, but also that's how we learn about how and the people who are judging our work as industry professionals. So we would really get real-time feedback from people working in the industry. And really, for me, thinking of these projects ahead, it's very identical to what we're doing in the industry today, especially what I'm doing at NBC. I'm working with collaborators, I'm working with editors, I'm working with producers. I have to take notes, and then also presentation skills when we have to pitch projects to producers and executives at NBC.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I could definitely connect with that in my linked learning experience. Excuse me, definitely the work-based learning felt so integrated and just felt like, part of my regular education, but I know it's not the case for most students in high school. So, but thank you for sharing. Karen, what about you? I know you just presented and gave a wonderful presentation, but what makes linked learning different, maybe on the student support side? Could you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. And so I think with student supports, it makes it so much easier. So prior to teaching in this linked learning academy, I just taught a normal regular class by myself. I was on my own, and I never had the situation like students. I would maybe have some students that some of my friends had in common, but we didn't always have them in common. And because our students are cohorted, we're able to really look out for the kids. So I might say like, hey, Ivan was really off this morning. Can you just check on him to see? So we're really able to support the students in a way that's different because we have all of the same students. Or if someone has a family emergency, like we're able to send that information out to everyone. So just not feeling siloed. And I guess also on that side, not only I know student supports is like the biggest thing, but also it kind of feels supported for teachers. So at our school, we have a big turnaround with teachers, coming in and out and moving. And all of the teachers in our academy are so dedicated to being here. And I really feel strongly that it's because of the way the system is in place. So we enjoy working with each other so much. It never feels like I'm doing it on my own. I always have a team in place. They get excited about things, which makes me excited about things. And then our students feel that because they watch us the way that we're working together, and it's a good example for them, and they feel like they're a part of a community and a family. And so not only is it super beneficial to kids, I think, but it also is also beneficial to the teachers in our academy.
Great. Yes. Yeah. I'm happy to hear that. It's not only benefited students, but also teachers. And yeah, definitely excitement spreads. So you can definitely tell when folks are excited about this work, and it's very fun as well. So I know we have just a few minutes, but my last question for our panelists is, what is one memorable experience or highlight from your experience with linked learning? So if anyone would feel free to take it away and jump in.
I can go ahead. So yeah, I want to highlight something relatively recent from this school year in our medical and health sciences pathway. We actually use the same project Lead the Way curriculum as Karen's school. And we have an amazing CTE teacher who's always looking for opportunities to connect students with real world experiences. So in this case, she found out about a program from our local community college, Pasadena Community College, PCC. They have a stem cell research institute there. And what they did was sent one of their instructors to our school, and they worked with students actually culturing embryonic stem cells. And they learned all about, the history, the benefits, the pros and cons, ethical issues associated with that type of research. And I went into the class towards the end of that unit after they'd done all that, where they were having a debate. And for me, I particularly just noticed one of the students who I'd seen a lot outside of class, not necessarily for the best reasons, and seeing him in class, he was completely engaged. He was making claims about stem cell research, citing evidence, really doing an amazing job. And it really, kind of flipped my whole perception of this student. And I asked him about it. I told him, how impressed I was with what he was doing and how, intelligently he spoke about the topic. And he just said that this was a subject that he loves, and actually doing this hands-on work gave him a passion for going into the healthcare industry. And it just showed me that when you provide students with that real, hands-on, real-world learning opportunity, it could really change their attitude and their engagement in class. So that was a really great experience from this school year.
Hey, thank you. Marlon, what about you?
For me, thinking it through, I would say getting the opportunity to start internships my junior year, because usually one thing about it of junior year of high school, because the one thing about it is I've heard and noticed that really internships are only existence when you're in college. But to start so early, especially being 17 years old, and to be able to step on the Fox Studio lot while still in high school, one, it was a dream come true, but on top of it, it made me very confident going into college and career, having something on my resume, in addition to what I did with my pathway with New Media Academy at Hollywood High. It set me up for the future. And I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the experience, the mentorship of my teachers, and the collaborators I've gotten to meet being at Hollywood High and being part of the pathway.
Perfect. Thank you. Karen, do you have a quick snippet, 30-second share out?
Yeah, I'll go really fast. We recently did our senior defenses, and we have a teacher that was our graduate from our first year. I just told you guys the whole story about how our pathway started. So she was before we cohorted our students, she was sitting in on our senior defenses. So she's now working with the academy. And when she saw the senior defenses and all the things that the kids were doing, she was like, this is so amazing. She's like, I thought I had it good when I was here. But to see from her perspective, what we've built with the help of linked learning and the time that span, to see it from her perspective was really exciting. Like, we've done a lot of work with the support in this framework and using this approach.
Great, awesome. Well, thank you all so much to our panelists. We don't have necessarily time for Q&A, but if you do have any questions, please drop them in the chat, and we'll work on either responding in the chat or sending a follow-up with responses, but please everyone join me with a virtual round of applause for all of our wonderful panelists. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Cindy Bader now from the Linked Learning Alliance, who is our Senior Director of Partner Engagement. So Cindy, feel free to unmute.
Great. Thank you, Hernan. And well, hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you today. So I'm just going to talk about the importance of district systems and community engagement. And for linked learning to be equitable and impactful, it requires an inclusive community-driven approach and supportive district systems and conditions. Our district guide highlights 3 critical areas: the shared and aligned vision, which the district, school, and community establish a clear vision for college and career readiness, and an equitable system of integrated pathways. And one example of that is Long Beach College Promise, where the 3 institutions and the Port of Long Beach and the mayor all had a vision for college and career readiness. The next area is the supportive systems and conditions, the essential district and site structures and policies and capacities needed to implement a district-wide school transformation strategy. And Mateen, who you will meet in just a few minutes, will discuss how a shared vision in Oakland impacted their pathways and share examples of how Oakland has established supportive systems and conditions needed to implement a district-wide strategy. And then finally, engaged partners. Community connections help create an integrated program of study based on industry theme and ensure alignment with post-secondary programs. So community and industry partner involvement is really critical. And later you're going to hear from the Port of Long Beach and their impact that they've had on pathways in Long Beach. So now I want to introduce you to Mateen Abdul-Kawaii. He is the high school network superintendent for Oakland Unified School District. He's a champion for linked learning and a linked learning fellow. Mateen?
Thank you, Cindy. Good afternoon, everyone. It's always a pleasure to have an opportunity to talk about linked learning and be a part of the Linked Learning Alliance efforts to communicate and inform others around the great work and what linked learning can do for our scholars in high schools nationwide. I hope over the next few minutes to share with you some of the specifics about linked learning and what it looks like in Oakland and how it's different than other initiatives. How the community developed a vision for linked learning and a commitment to it, and what the impact has been over the last 5 or 6 years. Next slide, please. So this slide captures a lot of what has already been said, but linked learning requires a network of adults to work together to ensure success in high school and after. A network is a technical web of interconnected parts. One part weakens or shuts down, the whole network is weakened or even shuts down completely. A linked learning network is similar, but it's comprised of people. Our relationships with each other and our students are at the center of transforming outcomes for all of our scholars. Our students come with varying levels of readiness to access complex tests, to write coherent arguments, think mathematically, and navigate difficult systems. Linked learning says that students need us to work deeply together to make learning accessible and relevant. Individually, we can offer internships, projects, college campus tours, and other work-based learning opportunities, along with and being intentional about connecting our scholars to all the many different career paths that are available, but particularly available in the area where they live. Some of the common pathway features that are consistent, and again, a lot of this has been shared already, is utilizing the pathway structure to integrate both career technical education standards, or CTE standards, along with Common Core standards. So it's a wonderful blend of the 2 standards to give our scholars the opportunity to have rigorous academic learning opportunities, along with being exposed to career technical education. a lot of what you've heard and will continue to hear is about the academic and career theme. And so ideally, the master schedule, the schedule of our schools, allows the teachers within a pathway to work together so that you can see the theme of that pathway, whether it's public health, environmental science, you can see it in all their courses, their English course, social studies, science, so that there's a seamless integration of that pathway theme in all of their courses. Common planning time for the teachers of a pathway is imperative for a pathway to be successful. The teachers must work together and have time during the school day built in, paid for, respected, because our teachers work so hard that allows them the opportunity to meet together, to develop those lesson plans, those units, those learning experiences for their scholars that helps them be successful both in school, but also to be able to transition out of high school into a successful career afterwards. And the learning doesn't just take place in the classroom. One of the beautiful things about linked learning and having this type of school structure is that, particularly at the schools where I've been principal, every morning you see charter buses lining in front of the school, ready to take scholars to different parts of the Bay Area so that they can continue to learn and be hands-on and engage people who are actually in these professions. Another key element is the dual enrollment. This is an opportunity that allows our scholars to take college courses while in high school, on the high school campus. So the local junior college system will send their instructors to the high schools, and our scholars can potentially graduate with 10, 15, 20 credits, either towards their undergraduate degree or definitely towards a certification. And many of our scholars are graduating with certifications at when they graduate from high school. If we can advance a couple of slides, please. Next one, please. Thank you. So this slide is intended to give a brief example of how dedicated Oakland Unified School District is to the concept of linked learning. And what you see here are the pathways in our district by industry sector. And so each one of these lines represents a pathway at one of our many schools. So top left, you see within the agriculture and natural resources industry sector, that Oakland High has an environmental science academy. And under the arts, media, and entertainment, there are 5 or 6 different academies within our district that support scholars in that particular industry sector. Some of the more popular ones you see on the top right, health science and medical technology. There are 7 or 8 different pathways in our district that support scholars in that particular one. Information technology is super popular. And bottom left, you see engineering and design. But at this point, close to 100% of our high school scholars in almost 20 high schools are enrolled in a linked learning pathway. Next slide, please. But this doesn't just happen at the school site level. And so what you're looking at is the org chart for our department. The left side of it is just a high school supervision side, not just, super important part of the work, but that's the school supervision side. So those list all the schools in the Oakland Unified School District. But the right side are all the people held centrally who have an integral responsibility to make sure that the linked learning experiences at all of our high schools are of high quality. I'll get to Measure N in a second. That's the one you see right there in the middle. But as you see, going from the right there, left to right, are the 4 pillars of linked learning that were alluded to earlier in this presentation. Comprehensive student supports. The first 2 people there are responsible for dual enrollment. They've established the relationships with the local community college system, Peralta, and currently we have on all of our colleges, all of our high school campuses, 1,300 seats of dual enrollment currently existing right now during the spring semester. That's a phenomenal cost-saving opportunity for our scholars, an amazing improvement on the rigor of the high school experience of our scholars as well. The next one, rigorous academics, work-based learning. So we have a coordinator for CTE, trades and apprenticeships, someone responsible for the school to business process and the work-based learning. And if you look underneath that in the small white boxes, you see that small box, work-based learning liaisons. So those are site-based full-time FTEs that their sole responsibility is to work with pathway directors and teachers to make sure that the work-based learning opportunities at those particular school sites are comprehensive, relevant, and rigorous. And then the next one you see there to the far right, CTE. And again, we have a cadre of CTE coaches that work directly with teachers to make sure that, like we talked about earlier, those CTE standards are coming together with the Common Core standards to create a rigorous, relevant, and exciting learning experience for our scholars. Next slide, please. So much of what you saw on that last slide it happens because of Measure N. And Measure N is a parcel tax that was passed by the Oakland voters about 5 or 6 years ago. And this is the beauty of linked learning. This is the beauty of having this type of effort or design or focus for our high schools. This was really a grassroots effort taken on initially by a former board person, former superintendent, but then immediately went to community-based organizations. They said, if you are committed to making sure our scholars in Oakland graduate from high school with all the skills and experiences they need to be successful after high school, we need to go all in on linked learning. We need to make sure that every scholar has the opportunity to do this at a high level. And the reason why I say high level is because it can happen in many different ways. It can look different from school to school, city to city, state to state. But wherever you want it to be rigorous and high quality, it's imperative that the funding goes along with it. So this was a parcel tax that was passed by the Oakland voters that brought in about $12 million a year for 10 years. And it was a game changer. Prior to this role, I was a principal of Oakland High School. It brought in about $1.3 million a year and gave us the ability to do a lot of the integrals of linked learning at our schools.
Team, this is Robert here. Is it okay if we jump to the last slide on the key learnings? Just because we're running a little bit behind. Is that okay?
Let's do it.
All right. So if you can kind of help us kind of go to the last slide, but we'll send the slide deck out and Mateen's going to be on the panel as well. So thanks, Mateen.
Excellent. So just real briefly, what has worked to drive student achievement? Linked learning pathways, putting wraparound services for our scholars to be successful in the pathways. Each pathway in most of our schools has an assistant principal, a case manager, and a guidance counselor dedicated to that particular pathway. All their offices are together so that both the scholars, the teachers, and their families have a key, one place to go to get the support and guidance that they need. The 10 years of funding, and we're in the process of getting it refunded for the additional years, is integral to the work that we're doing. And we're in the process of getting it back to the voters. And we have the evidence to show, and you'll see the slide deck later, that shows the evidence that we're being successful with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mateen. That was great. I love all the work that you're doing up there in Oakland. I want to introduce you now to Alejandra Gutron, who is from the Port of Long Beach, and she's going to discuss the partnership that they have with Long Beach Unified School District and the impact that their partnership has had. Alejandra?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So thank you for having me here. Cindy, are we going to be playing the video first, or are we going to go through the slideshow first?
Yeah, the video.
Oh, video. There's the video. We're going to go ahead and watch a quick video, and then I'll go into my PowerPoint.
The Port of Long Beach and the Long Beach Unified School District celebrated a new partnership at the ACE Academy at Jordan High School in North Long Beach, a program that brings real-world and hands-on learning experience to the classroom for students interested in careers in advanced manufacturing, construction, and engineering.
We are completely dedicated to developing educational outreach and programs that offer career opportunities to our local residents.
The future of the Port of Industry lies with these students here in the high schools.
The partnership between the Port and the school district allows for kids to see opportunities here in Long Beach so that they can go on and get educated, but stay right here and contribute their gifts and talents to our own community.
When students are more engaged in a program like this, that's an aspect of linked learning, measuring engagement. The impact has been shown on student achievement to increase college readiness, to increase A through G rates, especially for students of color. And so across Long Beach Unified, that's why we have linked learning across our high schools.
I think it's a really good opportunity. It helps us all understand, and it's a lot of hands-on learning, so we get to use the machines. So I think training ACE has definitely become essential.
We have approximately 450 students, and the students love the program. They had a distinct interest in this field. So in addition to their regular core curriculum classes, math, English, science, these are additional supplementary classes that are really what we call linked learning to prepare them for life after school.
We're very excited about it, and it really shows the students what they can be. It shows them what kind of opportunity is out there that they really might not be aware of at all.
What they're doing in these labs are actually manufacturing parts. They're building pieces and materials and equipment that will help assemble things that they could actually see down at the Port of Long Beach.
The ACE Academy here at Jordan is very important to expose particularly minority students to careers like in engineering, because going forward in the next decade, that's going to be very much a required degree for the next workforce.
The ACE Academy at Jordan is the second linked learning partnership between the Port and LBUSD and joins the Academy of Global Logistics at Cabrillo High School, which launched in 2016. Learn more about the Port of Long Beach's education efforts at polb.com/education.
All right, so I think that's a great video to capture everything that we do and why
the Port of Long Beach and the Long Beach.
Here we go. I'm going to go through this very quickly. I know we're running a little bit short on time, but the Port of Long Beach really wants to be a catalyst to get other organizations, other entities in our community to partner with our education institutions and provide everything that makes linked learning so amazing. Scholarships, internship opportunities, and also being able to provide real world experience into the classroom. We can go to the next slide. So the Port of, here we go. So the Port, what is our huge impact? 1 in 5 jobs here in our city are related to our port, and across the nation, it's 2.6 million jobs. We can click to the next one here. And we know that the workforce is changing. We need to ensure that we're providing our students all of the skills that they need. And our focus really, or our reason for partnering with Linked Learning and Long Beach Unified School District is, again, to really create that pipeline and ensure that we're going to have those amazing employees that we're going to need to fill our jobs here within our industry. Soft skills are obviously a huge part of it, not only teaching them about what is engineering and all these projects, but really remembering how important soft skills are. So we have industry partnerships, we do advisory board participation, we also do mentoring, and we help out with things even like resume development. Go to the next one there. And what we're really doing is with AGL and ACE. AGL was a brand new program, Academy of Global Logistics, that we took over. And we know what we're good at and we know where we need help. And so we actually partnered with Cal State Long Beach's Center for International Trade and Transportation to help us develop the curriculum and ensure that teachers across the board are aware of what integrated projects are. So when you've been a math teacher, like someone mentioned, or you've been an English teacher and you've just been teaching English, how are we able to provide teachers those resources that they need to understand what engineering is, and how can you have them create, an English project related to engineering? And so that is why we brought in a partner or higher institutions here in the city to really help us develop that and ensure that we're providing real world work in the classroom. You can go to the next slide there. So here are some of our staff. So not only has the port directly supports our pathways, AGL and ACE, which I'll go into detail in a second, but we've been supporting our LBUSD for the last 2 decades. We do, we go out and we judge any of the capstone projects. We do mentoring sessions. There's a lot of other things that not only do we provide support to those 2 pathways, but we ensure that we are also providing it to all the high schools throughout the district. Next one there. So there on the left, you'll be able to see what we open up to all of the pathways. We do in-classroom presentations. So for those like environmental pathways, we would pull somebody from environmental or engineering. We offer harbor tours, guest speakers. And then if you click one more time there, these are the specific things that we do directly with those 2 pathways, the Academy of Global Logistics and ACE Academy. So we help them with the curriculum, career-based learning. We do a lot of the field trips, but most importantly, we provide also resources and guidance for teachers. So we match them up with our industry professionals to be able to ask questions. Does this look right? Is what we're using in the classroom, does that relate to what you guys are currently using in the industry? So now we're going to go ahead and go in into the actual pathway. So the Academy of Global Logistics launched in 2016. It used to be a business academy that was lacking somewhat of support. And so we partnered with LBUSD. We provide a lot of support, including $20,000 in scholarships for their high school seniors. We, as I mentioned, assist with bringing in Cal State Long Beach to help them with their capstone projects. We play a big role in the advisory board and also assisting in finding people to come into the classroom for presentations and then field trips as well. I know, Cindy, we're running, so I'm going to get through this really. We'll go to the next slide there. So here's some data regarding AGL from that first year when they ended up to 2020. Right before the pandemic, when we had more of a numbers that we could really work with. So the enrollment did grow from 433 up to 456 in 2020. As you can see, a lot of it was covered, ensuring those A through Gs, making sure that our students are really supported in different ways with counselors. So our AP enrollment has grown, the GPA as well. And one thing that I like to say is a lot of the schools here, I'm a graduate of the LBUS. And when I was in high school, my 9th grade class, it was like 1,000 students. And when you have these pathways, it's almost like you're breaking them down into smaller communities. So the students are being seen, they're being heard. You're able to provide more of a one-on-one for these students. And we'll go to the next slide. So the Academy of ACE Academy is the Academy of Advanced Manufacturing, Construction, and Engineering. This is the 2nd pathway that we just launched this past fall, and that is the video that you were just able to see. This particular pathway has more, and so we are hoping to start gathering data as we are now allowed to do field trips and in-person, presentations and things like that. So we'll have more update on that, but this is our 2nd partnership with them. AGL, we also provide scholarships, so $20,000 for this pathway as well. And we can go to the next slide there. What we also offer across the district is attendance to events like State of the Port, Pulse of the Ports, and Women in Trade. Women in Trade was specifically created to try to get more women into our industry, to become familiar with global logistics. We know that in the past, it used to be a male-dominated field, and so we bring women from the industry to come in and talk about their experience and talk about, some of the things that they can work on. I've met with students in the past that say, I want to design, I want to be a designer. I want to design a dress, for example. And we have those mentoring sessions where we can talk to them and say, instead of designing a dress that only lasts one season, what about designing a bridge, right? And thinking long-term, how can you apply those skills to different fields? And that's just a wonderful opportunity for for these students. Go to the next slide. So what is our ultimate goal? We want to ensure that we are supporting all three of our education institutions, obviously with the pathways here with LBUSD. With LBCC, we've been able to launch our Maritime Center of Excellence. And with CSULB, we have a very close working relationship with their engineering department, as well as international trade and transportation. We also contract to provide those services to one of our pathways. Ultimately, this for us is a social responsibility, ensuring that we are providing great opportunities to the students that live here and are directly impacted by our operations. Go to the next one here. And just very quickly, as before we end, I do want to say that we have a very robust scholarship program. $200,000 is what we give out annually for students studying fields directly to us. In addition to internship programs that we run, we have a summer high school internship program where we hire high school juniors and seniors for 6 weeks during the summer, and it is a paid internship program. And then our college internship program is a 2-year. So we very, very much support everything that Linked Learning does, and it provides a very structured, guided way for school districts to be able to provide a consistent service to all students. So thank you. I know we're short on time. I hope that was okay. There's the summer high school.
Thank you, Alejandra. And
all of these slides, I know we're short on time, but all the information will be shared to you just to respect for the other presenters as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Alejandra. And yes, the presentation will be shared. They have a plethora of information. So now I want to introduce Michael Mcbride, who will be moderating our panel. Michael is the Assistant Director of Career Readiness at the Long Beach Unified School District. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm really excited to be here this afternoon, and I'm just going to ask our panel a few questions. And I'm going to start off with Rose Gonzalez because I'd like to introduce her and say good afternoon. Rose, could you take a minute and tell us a bit about your role and Linked Learning work in the San Bernardino City Unified School District?
Sure. So good afternoon. My name is Rose Gonzalez. I'm the Workforce Development Coordinator here for San Bernardino City Unified School District. And I know we have some people here from outside of California. So just to give you an idea, San Bernardino is part of the Inland Empire. We're located about 40 miles east of Los Angeles. So it's about a 1.5-hour drive if you were to drive to San Bernardino from Los Angeles. We have 46,000 students in our school district. And locally, we have a lot of business and logistics. We have a lot of warehouses. So if you drive through our community, you'll see a lot of warehouses. You'll see a lot of big trucks transporting commerce. And I heard an interesting statistic the other day that 44% of all the commerce for the United States flows through the Inland Empire. And so you can imagine like what kinds of jobs are available in our area. So we've got business and logistics is huge, manufacturing, health, and construction. Those are the big ones. And if you take a look at our student population, we have very high levels of students with low socioeconomic status. We have a lot of English learners. And our city has been known in the past to be the most dangerous city in the United States. So that gives you an idea of the kinds of challenges that our students face. So here in San Bernardino, our motto is that we're making hope happen. And for us, Linked Learning is the way that we do that. Linked Learning is the vehicle for us to make hope happen for our students, for them to see their future in spite of living in a dangerous surrounding area. And tell me if I'm talking too much, but so my position was created originally out of a partnership between our school district and our local workforce development board. It was a jointly funded position, so half by the workforce, half by the school district. And it was to create a program basically for internships for high school students where they earn college credit, they get a work readiness certificate, they do a 120-hour paid internship out in the community, and really a program that builds connections, helps students get their professional networks growing, and help build that social capital for our students. So the program, it no longer exists, but that's how the position was originally created. We have 9 high schools in our district, and we have 50 pathways. For those 50 pathways, they represent 13 out of 15 of the industry sectors in the state of California. And I'm proud to say we have 5 gold linked learning certified pathways and 7 silver right now. We just celebrated last week 3 of our new gold pathways, so we're very proud of that. And despite being a big district with lots of 50 pathways, we have a small team here at the district office. So we have right now a vacant director position, and then a coordinator, that's me, and 2 program specialists. So we got a small but mighty team.
It sounds like you guys are doing amazing work there. So thank you so much, Rose. And I know that connection piece is really important. My next question is for you, Alejandra. A lot of times as school districts, we educators can connect with other educators, but it can be intimidating for educators to connect or reach out to employers and industry experts. What kind of advice would you give to educators considering engaging industry partners?
Most industry partners want to be involved. Every person that I've reached out to, if they're not able to do it themselves, they will find someone within their office to help out. So I may not be available to do this, but let me find someone. So you'll be surprised, pleasantly surprised, how many organizations really do want to partner. And we're very well aware that not all organizations are going to be able to participate as in depth as the port. However, when you're able to get a strong advisory board, you're able to use them to be able to pull from different areas. So somebody from mentoring, somebody from the advisory board, someone for field trips. And the worst thing that they can say is no, right? That's what I always tell people. The worst thing they can say is no. And most of the time, it won't ever end in no. They'll say, I can't do it, but I have somebody to assist. So, bringing in industry is such an important part of ensuring that the information you're providing in the classroom is accurate. And so you have to make sure that not only are you educating your teachers, but you are having those contacts where teachers can cross-reference, what am I doing with this integrated project, and does it relate to what they're really using in the industry? So just do it. Just do it. And the worst thing they can say is no.
I like the Nike reference. Just do it.
Yeah.
Mateen, I know we're running out of time, but and I thank you for your presentation earlier about how linked learning really ties together both the elements of industry and community and also the academics that students are learning. Can you speak a little bit more in terms of how linked learning has impacted your community and your students and adults, and kind of what makes it different from other CTE or K-12 programs?
Sure. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. And I'll be as brief as possible. So prior to this position, I was a principal of Oakland High School, oldest high school in the city of Oakland, 1,600 students. And when I got there, there were 3 CTE pathways. And it was very clear that the scholars who participated in those pathways had a higher graduation rate, higher A to G completion rate, lower suspensions, better attendance. It was night and day if you compare those small percentage of scholars that were in the pathway to the many of scholars who weren't. Also, those pathways were predominantly female, and most of the Black and brown males were not in pathways. So there was a serious lack of equity at Oakland High School specifically. So one of the first things we did, and we did it immediately, was say, well, clearly if the graduation rate for scholars in the pathway is 85 to 90%, and those scholars who are not is in the low 60%, why not just put everybody in the pathway? So we immediately began the process of identifying what career themes, pathway themes, career themes in the Bay Area were most popular to our scholars, and began to create design teams to help create pathways aligned to those particular career themes. And within a couple of years now, there are 6 pathways at Oakland High School, wall to wall. Graduation rate across the board went up to over 80%. African-American females was 95% for 2 or 3 years running. It was a night and day. And Measure N made it super possible, but the foundation of all the high school work that's happening in Oakland is having a transformative effect, not only at an Oakland Unified School District, but almost every charter school in Oakland also has embraced linked learning and is incorporating the pathway experience for their scholars as well.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's incredible information. Now I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to kick it back to Robert. But before I do, I want to thank you all for sharing.
Michael, you can take one. You can take another 2 minutes here. I'm okay.
Okay.
So,
okay. So then I've got one other question. Anyone can. Maybe this is more geared towards Rose or Mateen. But in what ways has engaging with industry partners led to other unexpected benefits for your students, your school, your district? And Mateen, I know you talked a little bit about that, but even just the bringing in of industry partners into schools, how has that benefited you in ways that you may not have expected or anticipated?
Go ahead, Rose.
I would say that every single time we put our young people in front of industry partners, it leads to more opportunities. Every single time. People who aren't used to working with teenagers sometimes are a little fearful. They're not sure what to expect. Sometimes they have low expectations of what students can deliver, but you put those students from our linked learning pathways in front of those industry professionals, you have them interact with them. They see the students practicing their soft skills. They hear students talking about their industry certifications, the different tools they're using, the types of information they know related to the industry, and guaranteed those industry professionals want to know, how do we get more involved? What else can I do to provide opportunities to your students? So here in San Bernardino, we've taken advantage of a new kind of system that our county schools came up with called micro internships. They put together a micro internship toolkit, and we use that. We have these 90-minute micro internships focused on one skill in an industry sector, small group of students with an industry professional. Those have helped lead to even more work-based learning opportunities for our students, where the industry professional has this low commitment involvement, right? They commit to 90 minutes with our students. They meet our students and they always want to know, okay, how can I hire them for an internship? How can I get them more involved? How can I participate more? So the students sell themselves. I would say 100% of the time, the students will sell themselves.
Thank you. Yeah, and we could speak for another 90 minutes on this topic, and but unfortunately we are out of time now. I want to thank all of you for sharing your wisdom. I think this is the power of linked learning, is the collective knowledge that we have just benefits everybody a lot more. So thank you all again. Robert?
Great. Thank you, Michael, and thank you to our panelists. So we've just got a minute or so left here, but just a couple of closing comments and a few things to share with you. So one, there's a feedback that's going to be posted in the chat. If you could take a minute and fill that out, that would be terrific. We'll also send that out after the webinar. And then next slide. And a couple of resources I mentioned earlier, we'll also send these out. Our two guides are also available on our website, and the link is posted there in the chat. And next slide, please. Again, this is also in the resource, but when we think about linked learning, this is hopefully a district and community-driven initiative, and you'll find some resources in there, and seeing the importance of the district and community partners is really critical. So, and next slide, please. And a couple of opportunities that are coming up. I know we're at 2 o'clock. And one is our Linked Learning Conference, which is tentatively scheduled next year for October 24th to 26th in Los Angeles, where you can learn more. We also have an Equitable Master Scheduling Workshop coming up on May 12th, this is going to be actually 12 to 4 o'clock. And again, that information is available on our website. And I think you've heard how important the master schedule is, and thinking about how do we cohort students and also teachers to do this kind of work. And finally, last slide. For more information, you can visit our website, but you can also reach out to us directly. We're happy to schedule time to talk with any of you, and our partners and Linked Learning Fellows who've been on this webinar are really generous with their time as well. So, please let us know if you have any questions or any way that we can be supportive. And again, thank you all for attending today. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and look forward to seeing you at a future Linked Learning event. Thank you.